a little participant sheet. Okay, so a couple things that we're going to have here are this is, if you can just pass one around, this is just to take you through the session. You're not going to get like a big binder here today, proof that most people don't look back at. And then I just have mini versions of the slides. And then Sarah, we're going to send out anything that people want afterward. Yeah.
So just make sure I have all of your email addresses, especially if you didn't register. And if you didn't register, make sure you register for the next one so we know how many chairs to pull out.
So what I'd love to have you do just right before we get started is at the top of the page, it says 2 things I want to improve with my social media. So I know that the chamber sent out a survey and that you guys filled out some stuff. I'll show you, I boiled a little bit of it down here to prompt you if these are yours or if you didn't write one down. So here are some things that you said, but I want you to think about if you had some experts in the room that were going to help you with your social media, what are just a couple of things you'd like to get some ideas on? Okay, so just take like a minute or two with that, and then we'll move from there.
Oh, and then I've always ignored the lady with the camera.
What?
Ignore the lady with the camera.
Is that you?
Yep.
Well, that's I didn't know if we were talking to the tripod.
While you guys are writing those down, I'm just going to introduce Tim here real quick. So this is Tim. Tim,
Hi.
what's your last name again?
Bingaman.
There we go. So this is Tim. He works with the Small Business Development Center at Miami Regional Campus, the Westchester campus. And so this presentation is brought to you also with us, but the Small Business Development Center is the one who has put this together, and it's our presentation. That's a terrible introduction.
I know, I can still get around with Trump. You know, earned it. But my dad used to always say he thought being a symphony conductor was the ultimate job. Because you get a round of applause just for showing up. And sometimes I'll demand that, which is great. Thanks for humoring me. There's seats everywhere. People will continue to come in. That's totally good. So the beginning of this really is to go back and say that on behalf of the Small Business Development Center, me, Tim Bingaman, a small business advisor, I'd just like to say thank you for coming. Making changes and showing up to events like this is definitely a good sign for you. It's a good sign for your company, your business, and I commend you just on making that step. What I do on a daily basis is I offer no cost confidential business counseling. So if anybody in this room wants to get together, one-on-one, that's what I do. That's the main portion of my job. I have some cards up here. You can grab that. You just register. As Sarah said, we partner with a lot of different people to put on learning events too. So the day job typically is one-on-one advising and meetings. But we also do lots of courses. And if you go to SBDC Events Ohio, if you Google that, you'll see a huge list of all kinds of courses you have access to throughout the state. And really, it's an amazing tool in addition to, again, one of the main pieces, which is me helping people start and grow businesses. Okay, so there's my infomercial for that. I have not worked with the Fairfield Chamber much, but I'm totally blown away by this chamber. They're super sophisticated technologically. Sometimes I'll walk into a room and people are, again, I don't want to say blind leading the blind, because I think we're all guilty of it at some point, but amazing, engaged. So I'm not going to oversell them, they sell themselves, but really incredible team here. And Sarah is certainly no different from that. So I love to put on events with chambers of commerce and other groups. And one thing that is really important right now is social media. I don't have to sell you on it. I have a couple slides I'm going to continue to hammer home just to reinforce it. But that isn't the biggest part of the day, is to convince you need to use social media. You're here for a reason, because you have to, and that's where people are and that's where eyes are. So but anyway, I'm Tim Bingaman. So I do work for Miami University, Miami, Oxford main campus, and then we have regional campuses. You may have been there, you may have taken a class there, you may have kids or relatives who go there. I adjunct a couple classes there, so that's kind of the beginning of this. Social media is imperative. They sent out a survey. Again, I love that. They're like, we're going to find out what people want. And here's a lot of what we came up with. Is to learn something was kind of a recurring theme. I would just add one more thing. You said you want to learn something. The thing I'd challenge you to do is actually do something with it, right? You showed up. You sat in the seat, you're, a little bit uncomfortable. You put a sticker on your shirt and you're here, but I think you'll probably have a decent time. I don't think this is going to be painful. I don't think it's going to be like, a comedy routine, but I think you're going to enjoy the next couple hours. But the real thing you have to do is you got to use it when you get back. And what's the most important thing about using it when you get back? Anybody have an idea? There's no price. That's it. Consistency is huge. What else? One answer is a great answer. I need one more great answer.
Implementation.
Implementation. Yeah, I think that you have to do it. So you're going to go to this, you're going to get some ideas at the end, you're going to do some action planning, and you have to get back to your office, your desk, your business, and immediately start implementing. Because if you wait a day, you're less likely to do it. If you wait 2 days a week, if you wait for the perfect time when you're not busy, which none of you probably have non-busy times, you're just not going to get it done. So here are some of the things: is definitely learn something, implement it. Let's see, improve what you're already doing, increase followers, get an audience, gain interaction, convert viewers to clicks, and get sales is ultimately what it's for. I think that's an important thing that some people put in here, but I capitalized it because I like to yell. But get sales, to me, sometimes we get so caught up in the process that we, can forget why we're even doing it. And I think social media, sometimes you don't see a direct correlation to all of the work you're doing to immediate impact. And I think any marketing efforts are probably like that. But we're going to talk about that. We'll talk a little bit about some different platforms and go into analytics. Because this is such a broad topic, we got so many different things out there. This is a survey of, I don't know if survey is the right thing. This is an overview of a lot of topics. And you may be in here saying, I really want this, and that's great. And I apologize in advance that, this is going to be absolutely everything to all people. We're going to go through it. And then what we want to do is figure out what are the next steps. Like if I want an entire course on this one piece, let's get it together. Yeah. Okay. Now, the other thing that I think is when you show up to events like this is obviously networking. How many people know somebody in the room already? How many people met people through the chamber? Okay, so quite a few people. You just wrote down a couple of things that you want to get some information on. In terms of just building your network, I want to start just with a real quick little activity. And you're just going to get up and you're going to introduce yourself to a bunch of people. And this is how it's going to work. You're going to say, "Hi, I'm Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Good to meet you." And then you're going to say, "I'm trying to get better at," and one of those things that you wrote at the top of your participant guide there. And then the other person is just going to give you a couple of ideas. This is not a long answer. There is an awesome um, way to get and give feedback called feed forward that is very forward looking. So no, like, "Well, I tried that and it didn't work." These are not conversations. You're just rapid fire trying to get as many ideas as you possibly can. You're going to then, once they give it to you, write down a couple of things and say thank you and move on to the next person. Okay? And that's up. All right, so everybody stand up. If you already know somebody in here, resist the urge to immediately go to the people you know. 8 minutes on the clock and if you've ever been to a shop,
My Caitlin was your Caitlin Little.
but you found out something that they don't mind sharing with the rest of the group, something that somebody told you, a little tidbit tip that you thought was a great idea.
I didn't get a tip, but I think what Tammy does is really neat with genealogy. She was sharing that she does for us, take stories and shares them for future generations. Like I thought it would be great. I'm glad I had something like that for my father to share with my
Right.
kids. And so I think that she's also that just seemed like an amazingly cool service.
Thanks for the flag.
I love that. That's right. So, maybe if you have a little bit of time at the end, I'm always running late on pretty much everything, including a session like this. So hopefully we'll get through the content. It's not built in. But if you have time to mingle and talk to people and find out specifically about their businesses and how you might intersect or help each other, I think that's a great, thing to do. Hopefully you met some people that you're like, I think this person might be somebody I'd like to stay in touch with. Okay. Anything else that you heard from somebody you talked to? You said that might be something I can do. Yeah.
I talked to Nathan first and I said I wanted to do videos on my social media and I don't know where to start. I'm not really good on
Yeah.
that type of things. And he gave me an app called CapCut that he says it makes it much easier and gives you little templates and stuff.
Okay, cool. Nice job. Okay, cool. What else?
Is that KAP or CAP?
Good. One more thing that that you learned from somebody else that might be able to help you out here. Yeah.
So I was talking to Nathan also, and my business is I'm the account rep for the chamber for their leadership ID Shield benefit they offer to chamber members.
Yeah.
But I'm also a musician, and he's told me that I should incorporate more about my music when I'm talking about my business.
Okay.
That's the second person that said that to me, so maybe that
They're onto something here. I like that. Okay, great. So thanks for participating. I hope you guys met somebody new. But you can certainly come to events like this. But this is absolutely logical. Reach out to your network, and there are tons of people who are helping mentor you on all kinds of different stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go pretty rapid fire through some of this content. Again, I don't think I have to convince you why it matters, but there is a massive reach out there in terms of people out on social media. Is anybody embarrassed by how much they're on social media?
Yeah.
I'm raising my hand here.
Yeah, that sounds for work.
Anyone, either you said to your spouse, significant other, friend, like, get off your phone. What are you doing, right? I get that every once in a while. But I think this is kind of a scary stat, is that social media users spend 2.4 hours a day on different platforms. So people are definitely out there looking for it. And they're not just out there to look at, I'd say they're not looking specifically for businesses. They're looking for entertainment, right? And they're trying to, have a laugh, decompress. And I think if you keep your mind framed, like, how am I going to engage with somebody who has maybe had a hard day or just in the middle of something? How can I get them to stop and look? I think is a good way to do it. It's definitely cost effective in terms of dollars, but it is expensive in terms of what else?
Time.
Yeah, it does take a lot of time. And, so hopefully we'll talk through some ways to get through that and make it a little bit easier. Again, I'd love to go more in depth with certain things. And I put up here, I'm a trainer guy of old, and there's a thing called the parking lot. So if you're like, hey, listen, on Canva, if you do blah, 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 we probably are not going to have time for in-depth questions on some specific stuff, but we'll follow up and we'll get you some answers on that. If you have something specific, I'll have Sarah here write something down, or maybe I'll even do it myself. But AI, you can't walk 2 feet without somebody talking about AI. I've been to a bunch of workshops and a bunch of stuff on helping small business owners harness the power of AI. I'm in the process of hiring an AI student worker from Miami. That if you're a client, potentially they might come as a consultant and help you with some stuff. But anyway, it should be great. But a lot of what we're talking about here is if you just use AI, it'll help you and it'll answer all kinds of questions, which is obviously ridiculously amazing and smart, and eventually will end the world, but we're going to forget about that today and just talk about how great it'll be for you in the short term. Talk about platform optimization, content planning, tools, analytics, and then as I said, you're going to do an action plan. You guys told us in that survey what you were looking for in here. And because I'm smarter than you guys, I'm going to tell you some stuff that you didn't even ask for. I'm totally joking. But nobody mentioned this, but it's so key to social media that I'm going to talk about it. I have too many slides, but as I was building it, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to take out. So I'm just going to buzz through some stuff. And one of the biggest things is building your brand. You have to make some decisions up front. You can start posting, right? You're like, now I'm a musician and I do Legal Shield. And so great ideas you think through, but you really have to make some decisions about who you are and what you want to do first. And that's a lot. And at the top of this participant guide, well, not the top, maybe the bottom middle, you got to get right your brand. I don't think I'm going to do this activity just because we have so much content today, but I would do this as a takeaway for sure is what do you represent? What's important to you? What do your customers care about? This brand awareness, Nielsen report, age-old company, looks at numbers, is like working on your brand is the best money that you can spend on the long-term health and success of your business. Okay, you can make short-term posts, you can buy a billboard, you can do all this stuff. But anyway, just to continue this and continue to hit it with this. I'm teaching a marketing class this semester up at Miami, and I was like, oh man, let's look in the textbook. And I was like, they don't want textbook stuff, but there's this thing called IMC, Integrated Marketing Communication, which is really speaks to this concept of saying when people walk into your shop or hit your website or on your social media or talk to you, do they get the same feeling? And if you can get that vibe, that feel that's consistent through everything, it makes the whole thing much easier. And I'll talk about this a couple of times. I have a slide here, but think of a brand that you really love that you think does a great job. It could be, a competitor. It could be just an amazing, global brand. But check out what they do. Look on different platforms, and you'll see that the best companies have consistent themes throughout. So I just want to hit that. We talked a little bit about consistency. And a lot of people spend time saying, when do I post? How often do I post? Let me get a calendar. Let me pre-schedule. Let me do all this stuff. That's great, but you have to have clarity of message and don't get hung up on, I have to do a post today. It's Wednesday. I said I was going to do a post today. I believe everything I just said. Definitely still do it. But you need to have your brand identity. This bullet point talking about storytelling. People love stories, and you were talking about how you wanted to do some videos. Videos convey stories really well, but think about what's the story of the company and how will people engage with it and feel really good about it. This is a huge one, is just be authentic. So sometimes people do, and we're going to do an example later of something kind of super fun and wacky, right? Well, I don't know if you're a funeral home, I'm not sure super fun and wacky is really what you're going for, right? Or if it's legal problems, maybe somebody falling off the edge of a road drunk doing field sobriety tests might be funny, but I don't know if that's really what you want to do. I don't think that's what legal shield does anyway, but I'm just, as an example, think about what you're trying to convey and be authentic to it, and engaging. And then this last thing, ROI, who knows what ROI stands for?
Return on investment.
Return on investment, pretty commonly used acronym, but a lot of this stuff, like brand awareness and stuff, and multiple avenues, you say, well, how did you find out about us to a client? And they're like, I'm not sure. Or sometimes they'll say Google, or they'll say it's on your website. Well, that doesn't mean that they didn't see 5 other places, and this was the time they needed it, so they got there. All right, let's see. Stay true to your brand voice. You'll see some trendy stuff. I mean, I think cat videos is pretty much, a lifelong essential for anybody. But no, but think about what's true for you. Quality content, not just quantity. Go where your people are. Some people will hire people for this, I have people who come to me as a small business advisor all the time. They're like, I'm going to build my own website, or I'm going to do my social media. What should I do? Well, obviously, I'm helping people with it. But my number one thing is, if you do have a business that it does have expenses and you have some money to spend, do what you do well and pay other people to do what they do well too. And if you can find a social media person, or you can find I'm going to sound ageist here, but like a teenager who you can bring on that you're not going to have to pay much money to, and they'll help you do some engaging content. Spend some money so that you can focus on, your core, making money the way that you do, and, all the other stuff you have to do. Let's see, track what works. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay. This is just real quickly. Patagonia is, an amazing brand. Some people believe in it. If you look at it and you walk in, you're like, that's a good looking fleece. And you look at the price tag, and some of you might pass out real quickly because it's so expensive. But because of what they believe in, they have an incredibly strong and loyal base. So if you said, I'm going to start a sportswear company with, $150, quarter zip, fleeces, you'd be like, okay, good luck, dude. Because I can get that for $11 at Walmart or any number of places. But quality, focus on fair trade, treating employees right, factory standards, even if it's overseas. They do all kinds of stuff in this. So this is a takeaway. It's not on the sheet, but I would walk away and think about, what's a couple brands that I believe in that might be kind of similar to what I'm trying to do. It doesn't have to be like, I could pick Patagonia if I was an arborist, or some type of I sold 4-wheel drive or whatever. But anyway, I think about some of that as an exemplar, or kind of a best in practice on that. Okay, so this was not necessarily in there, but if you don't do this right, you can do all the other stuff, and it could be disjointed and potentially a little bit chaotic. So spend time, as I said, on this. I put some questions here, just trying to go back, and I would say, I do this, think about your voice, your brand, and what you actually want to accomplish with that. All right. Any questions, thoughts on brand? Anybody feel like they do this really well? You're proud of what you do with regard to brand? Marian says no immediately. She shakes her head.
I'm gonna help someone. Lemon Grenade is great at
Oh, Tommy! What's up, man? How you doing?
They when you're looking across social media and you see something from Lemon Grenade, that it's sick. So.
Yeah, and I didn't even notice. I now see the sweatshirt there. But I just want to thank Tommy publicly because we're doing a field trip for my sales and promotion class to Lemon Grenade, and he's invited the class in to show them what he does from an advertising marketing perspective. So anyway, give it up. And we had planned something a different time that didn't end up working out. But when I contacted him, it was like no problem. And I'd say, at a cognitive level, he probably knows because this is his business that saying yes to stuff and connecting with people and having a really great solid reputation is important. But again, he's certainly practicing that. And I would think about, for yourselves, if it's, where do you choose to spend your charitable like dollars or time, or who do you donate to, is all part of this package. So anyway, Tommy, do you have anything else to add on this?
Yeah, you're doing great.
Okay. All right. So AI also, I think it came up in the actual survey, but almost everything we're going to talk about in here, if you have a question, you go to AI. I mean, it is totally. How many people use it a lot?
We don't use it at all, Scott Baker.
Oh, no, God, no.
How many people use it a lot?
Oh,
How many people use it every once in a while?
I'm just starting to.
How many people don't want to use it? They don't like it. They think it's ultimately going to destroy the universe. That's also me, but
Terminator 2 is my favorite movie.
you what?
Terminator 2 is my favorite movie.
Okay, oh, it's a good movie. Yeah, and it's a warning sign against this. But pick the AI tool you want to use. It could be Google Gemini, which is built in. If you're a Microsoft person, it could be Microsoft Copilot. The first one, kind of out of the gate, a couple of years ago, ChatGPT is the one that I happen to use, just because I get used to using it and I'm in it. But pick one. The warning sign up here is it isn't secure unless you pay for it. So from a privacy standpoint, I would recommend, again, if it's within your budget, buck up to $25 or whatever it is a month for the secure, like paid version. You can do a lot more with it over time. But that way, if you want to type in specific information about your business, it isn't going to go out to other people. Now, this is, this could be a whole session on privacy and stuff like that. But what's probably not going to happen, I heard from experts, is it isn't going to come out in its pure form and they're going to be like, hey, guess what Legal Shield is doing in Cincinnati? Like if somebody types it in your stuff. But what it's doing is it's teaching the AI. And so I wouldn't put in specific your address, or put in like 100 Main Street, or put in a fake name if you're not using the paid version. But we do offer AI courses. I strongly recommend you do that, or you partner up with somebody who uses it. But I'm going to talk quite a bit about it just because it's such an amazing tool. So the first thing, this is on prompt engineering. So some of you, this is going to be reinforcement, but hopefully you get something about it. When you get to the screen and you say it's just a blank screen and you want to find out something like this, the first thing that we teach people is to give it a job. So what I say here is, you're a social media expert that works with small businesses. Now the AI knows who it is and what you're looking for at a basic level. Okay. In one of these workshops I was in, they said it's like having a genius in the next room, and you're like, "Hey, tell me how often to post." It's like, well, it doesn't know your business, it doesn't know who you are, it doesn't know who your audience is, demographics. So this is just some basics. So first off, give it a job. Tell it who it is, like a physical occupation. I'm trying to increase my followers on Instagram and Facebook. I want to increase my engagement with my followers with creative posts that fit my brand strategy. Help me create a monthly calendar that includes the best time of day as well as fun ideas. Okay? So this would get me something. It will. And if you put in, I'm a Chinese restaurant, I offer legal services, an advertising agency. Everything's going to get much better and more rich. And believe me, it sounds insane to people who don't use it. It's a machine, but it's really creative because it's thinking about things from a different angle than what you do. So it's, if you're looking for creative ideas, it sounds crazy if you're going for a machine, but it'll be. Just a couple other tips that I like is create a grid, so a little bit later I'll show you what I did on one of these things to compare different analytical tools for social media, return on investment, numbers and stuff, and just tell it everything that you want. If you're using it for like specific target lists and you say, tell me the CEOs of every medical like emergency medical facility, in Cincinnati or whatever. It may know them, it may not, but if it pulls it up, you can always ask it, it's not going to get offended by it. Put it in 8th grade English, or this last one that says use Hemingway style. Sometimes AI sounds like it's writing a brief for the UN General Assembly, and it sounds really ridiculous and flowery and doesn't use your style, but Hemingway style, like the writer, short, concise sentences, but just a couple tips on that.
Can I add one right
Yeah.
there? If you get an email from Peggy while she is gone, you might be able to figure out what Peggy told it to like help her. Because if anyone knows, Peggy's an English person. So if you email Peggy while she's on vacation, you will see that she put one of these right that's in the style of, used it in her out of pocket.
Exactly. Okay, so this is pretty basic stuff. Big 4 platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. Generally different audiences. I think if you're stereotyping or generalizing the viewer of it, what would we say Facebook versus Instagram is in terms of age?
Grandma and grandpa use Facebook,
Okay.
and middle-aged people use Instagram.
Okay. Yeah. Older people using Facebook, slightly younger people using Instagram. My kids basically use everything. They don't really use Facebook that much, but there are definitely some young people. I have a social media expert, and I'm actually stealing some of his content here. The guy's name is John Lucas. He owns a company called Management Essentials. Awesome guy. And he's the guy who, like, if you're looking to really kickstart your business, you can hire his company to help you with that on a lot of different fronts. So he's awesome. But he says still Facebook is king. Like, there's the most eyes on Facebook. So think about the preferences, like I said, of your people and who you think your target group is. But still, you might not want to potentially ignore, some of these things just because of, you don't think it's right there. Anybody do quite a bit on LinkedIn for their business? Yeah. And why do you use LinkedIn, Christina?
Demographic. Well, one is we have the most followers on LinkedIn.
Okay, cool.
Just because we've built up the most network there, but also our typical demographic is slightly older generation, maybe like business owners who are well established.
Okay.
So that's where our ideal client is.
Sure. Yeah, and what is your business provide?
Orbis Cybersecurity and IT Services. My colleague Chris Hammond said to tell you why.
Christopher.
You know him.
Yeah. It always says Christopher, and I
It
was
does.
like, anyway.
He doesn't care.
I'm pretty influenced with it. But yeah, so to shout out another company that's been very generous, Christopher and Forbes created a job aid for cybersecurity that I'm using with some of my clients too. So great, good for them on that as well. But yeah, if you're in a business to business space, it's a great place to be. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. Anybody listen to podcasts? Okay. Honestly, if you're driving around for a lot, I love music. I love music. But if you're driving around and you have time to listen to some podcasts, I've started listening to this marketing happy hour podcast. And it's these two ladies, and they but anyway, it's not perfect, but they have some really interesting guests. But as I'm driving around, I get that. And one of the guests, what they do is, it's a big social media company, and they do a lot of influencer creator type work, but they're really helping people to use LinkedIn for, even if you're not business to business, there's a lot of opportunity in LinkedIn, no matter who you are. And TikTok, how many people in here actually are users of TikTok as a person? Okay, so there's only 4 of you. I don't use it. I do, unfortunately, do scroll, my Instagram reels a lot. On my wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "You're watching Law and Order reruns." Mad at me because I'm scrolling through. Which the answer is yes to that. She wants us to be together. We would set our anniversary on Sunday, and mainly good. Mainly good, but sometimes I've had enough of Law and Order usual. Anyway, but what do you like about TikTok? If you raised your hand,
I mean, the search engine is really nice on TikTok. I think it's better than all the other search engines.
yeah. So tell me what you mean by search engine.
You can find anything you want, any demographic you want. Like if I were to go to Facebook and type in like arrest you for this, I'm going to get all kinds of crazy people's posts and like some tips or whatever. But on TikTok, it will, and even on Instagram, you won't get a specific. TikTok will pull up like specific things that you want and that you're searching for, and you can just doom scroll on there forever. And then it builds your FYP page that is only for you, and then you also have like the page that of your friends and people that you follow as well. So I think it's just built for the person.
Okay, great. Do you use it as a business?
I don't think we have it as a business yet. No.
Yeah, I would just say this is if you're, one thing I want you to walk away with really is grab the low hanging fruit. If you're comfortable with Facebook or Instagram and you never use TikTok, and you're not fully utilizing other platforms that you actually use personally, and you think that's your main demographic, I'm not sure you jump to LinkedIn or TikTok right now until you really get going with the other ones. But if you're to the point where you've been doing it for a while and you think there's some market there, I would absolutely go for it. TikTok, although I said I already have problems scrolling. So I don't feel like I need TikTok, but the algorithm was an absolute game changer. It still to this day gets people content that they want much better than a meta platform like Instagram or Facebook. People are, let's see, and it's a little bit more free access. So if you post something that hits, it can go out to all kinds of people. It's not just going out to followers or connections. Like it'll really go out. Instagram and Reels are getting better, and they were like, oh my gosh, we got left in the dust by TikTok. So that's better. But again, from what I've heard from experts, TikTok still has the best algorithm. And does anybody sell anything that they would consider like a one-time sale thing they could sell on the internet that somebody would just click to buy and it would go out to them? No? Okay. Well, it's awesome for that. Like if you just want to sell, here's my tripod that I'm going to use as a demo for later, that's just a cheap, great tool. But if you wanted to sell that thing, you could just sell them and, people just click to buy, click to buy, click to buy, and it makes it super easy. So in either case, think about where people are. Let's see, groups, reels. I think we pretty much talked about this. But I think this bottom one, TikTok says entertainment, but anybody who's actually going out to Facebook, Instagram, potentially LinkedIn, they're looking to get entertained. So keep that in the back there. All right. So I think this is, pretty basic, but, you want to think about this. What's the basic age, gender, race, marital status, income, education, and how do you get to these people, your main ones? and target those. Geodemographics, you can drill down to neighborhood zip codes. Again, I'm sorry to do it, but AI is absolutely your best buddy with finding all of this stuff. If you talk about areas, you tell them exactly what it's going to do. They're going to help you find all kinds of stuff. Put in the grid all the businesses who might potentially want legal services or large employers who, have whatever, again, and they'll list it, contact person, human resources, all that stuff. Okay. And then I said this again, but I like this because I bolded it. It's really good. Is just think about the other brands that people follow. So John Lucas brought one of his clients into a workshop recently that he's working with, and she sells like expensive custom jewelry, right? And her specific demographic is people who travel and want some versatile, piece of jewelry that they can use multiple times on a trip and stuff for fun, right? But it's expensive, right? So she went back, and part of the exercise is, what else does my client do? What kind of car do they drive? Where do they, eat? Where do they do this? So kind of a big list, and then look at those other brands and see how you. All right. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to pair up. So turn to the person next to you. You two, 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 you two. So pair up. You guys know how to pair up. This is good. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to pull up the social media for one of you. Okay? So the opportunity side here is, if I want to get some feedback from another person, I'm going to use mine. If you're like, I'm not sure I want to look at mine with another person, then use the other person. Okay? So look at it and decide, what are we doing well here? What might you do differently? All right? So if you haven't practiced yourself, pull up social media and have a look. Finish what you're talking about. Say, wow, thank you so much for your help.
Maybe.
Every time? Insightful, thanks. Great. So, we had a little bit of discussion about a couple things. One is, this is a little bit off topic, but I think it, it can certainly fit here as cross-posting from Instagram to Facebook. I just have like a little screenshot job aid. I have enough for everyone here. You'll be excited to hear.
Do I just have to look out for it?
I don't know if everybody wants one, but if you want one, they're here. Do you want one? Oh, they're good. We'll pass them out. I have them. We'll save them from the recycle bin. So that was one question that we're really not going to get into, but it's got a job post. So if we have something else for the parking lot to put up there that we don't really have time to get into, then let's put it up there when we get some tools and those things. The other thing was a little bit like, I'm not sure what I can post. I'm in a regulated industry. I always think of there's this Post Malone, Shane Gillis ad where they count down so they can have a drink of the beer at the end of the Bud Light commercial because you can't drink beer on a beer ad, which seems absolutely ludicrous to some.
Yeah.
But I'm sure when whatever the rule was enacted, they had some type of reason for it. But you need to find out what you can and can't post. You saw me like doing a little selfie stick thing here, and I was like, doing this. Well, again, you might want to get, if you think the people who you're including, you might need a release. There's definitely rules for having children in, social media posts, and some people will be thrilled to get their kid in a social media post, and some people would prefer not to, or vehemently don't want, not just prefer not to. So let's hear it. Something else that you picked up from your you were looking at one of your social media accounts. What was something you found that maybe you weren't super happy with? You had some feedback on, or?
I found that I have an old email address on there from a long time ago.
Okay.
Probably when I first started on Facebook.
AOL.
No, not that old.
I think that got it. So, this is one of those things. Like, audit your stuff. Put this on the calendar. It's not just for social media. Websites, sometimes it'll go out, and sometimes, like at the bottom, it'll say GoDaddy, like 2021, and people, not many people look at it, and it doesn't really mean anything specifically, but it's something, and small things can add up when you're trying to build the brand. So I think this is a great point. Is that, and if you're like me, and this is not in anywhere in my genetic skill set, is looking for mistakes and stuff. I'll leave that to somebody who's a lot more analytical than I am, like my wife, and to find somebody who's good at that, and put it on their calendar if it's an employee for them or a family or friend, loves to correct people's misspelling or find a mistake. But that's a great one. Yeah.
One of the things we were looking at is how do you increase engagement with your followers? It's like if you post something, you've got maybe 1,000 followers, but you're only getting like maybe 3 clicks on it or 3 likes or whatnot. How do you improve that?
Yeah. Good question. Did somebody have any thoughts on it?
Well, yeah, I thought I would ask.
Thought I would ask. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Just we'll get to it in a minute, but just from myself. Yeah.
I think for me, I try not to post a lot. I had a friend years ago that would just post so much every day, sharing stuff and posting things.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I can't anymore with you. Like,
Sure.
like
You're
6
blocked.
to 10, 6 to 10 posts a day.
Yeah.
And so I implemented my own personal rule of, if I post, it's once. It's either I share something a day, I share something personal, like I post a picture, whatever I was doing when I got rid of being interesting to people. I don't do that. I think I posted twice in the last 2 months.
Got it.
But I implemented that rule of, because I don't want to inundate people.
Okay.
So, I mean, what do you think is the going?
Okay. So I'm going to get back to this earlier, but I just to kind of hit both of these is that come up with a calendar that feels right for you. 6 a day was too many, and you're like, this is annoying. And I'd say most people probably think that. If you're in a business where you're really trying to schlep something and you couldn't care less about your customer and you're just looking for like made on TV, miracle foam or whatever, you may not care, right? But you probably fit somewhere in there. We're going to have some numbers in here, like, I don't know, like 2 to 5 times a week, I think is what most people kind of look at in terms of that. And then back to how to get clicks, I think, just my general thought is, and I was interested to see if anybody else had any ideas on this, but just, figure out your brand, right? And try and get compelling content that people are going to like, right? And, Sarah's going to take us behind the scenes at the Fairfield Chamber, to a post that they did and see how it did, right? And, but we're going to have a slide here in a few minutes that calls them like vanity numbers, which likes don't mean as much as you think they mean, It feels good to get, oh man, I got all these likes. And another thing that's kind of out there, people say, like, should I boost a post? How much money should I be spending to boost or do some stuff like that? In general, my advice is that even though it's only $5 or $10, you probably don't. Boosting isn't a long-term strategy. If you have a specific thing potentially, or let's say you get a ton of traction on something, I've had other social media people say, like, if you have lightning in a bottle on a post, then go ahead and spend the money to boost that because people know it's a winner. But in terms of that, I'd say I'd look at what the posts are and then look behind the curtain and say, did people actually look at it? How do I know if it was a successful post other than just did people click or comment? Okay, so a little bit more to come on that. But I think, would you just write that down more, because I think we can, you know, even within this content that we're a little more than halfway done with, you know, probably a little bit more. Anything that you actually got from the interaction with your partner? Where you felt like they had a good tip for me?
Different angle to take what people may be interested in hearing
Okay.
about. Maybe. Yeah.
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 Thinking about that. Like I said before, and I was complimenting AI before and how creative. You think of it from your lens. You're like, this is my business, here's my target audience, and this is how I'm going to present it to the world. But if you talk to other people with a different worldview or slightly different view, they might say, hey, well, you know, I think this would be appealing to people take this different technique. So I'm glad you got that. Okay. So this is a huge, you know, this is one of the key takeaways from today, which a lot of you probably already know. But how many people are doing video on their social media right now? I don't know. I get some ho hums. I got like a heck yeah over here. A couple of people are definitely doing it. You should definitely do it. One of your key takeaways from today is absolutely positively 100% do videos. And why are people not doing videos? It could be you or it could be somebody you know. Why don't we want to do video? Yeah.
I'm a perfectionist, so if it's not perfect, like it goes against my brain.
Okay.
It
Good
just
excuse.
gets there. Yeah.
You have one? No. Anybody up there?
Well, I made one recently. We have a statue in Village Green for this guy Express.
Yeah.
He's sitting there reading the paper. Well, I made him talk out loud what he was reading about was all about me.
Yeah.
So
And
Kinda creative.
People like it?
I just put it out there. I'm sure it'll get mixed. Anything I do, I get varied opinions.
Well, I bet that's part of your brand too. I mean, you have the light up hat, and I'm sure some people are like best hat ever, and some, you know, some people may not be quite their thing. But being an authentic, real person and saying, you know, this is going to be funny, and you hit it. Like I don't know if I come across as funny, but it's one of my, you know, ever since I was a little kid trying to be the class clown, I was trying to.
Well, some people think it's creepy when you make a statue talk.
Yeah, right.
That's okay. I
But
like creepy.
the people who like it, you're gonna, you know, are probably gonna like you.
Right.
And so I like the overall thing, but you know, sometimes you're not gonna hit, but the people who you hit with some humor or some stuff might be extra good. But I'm telling you, videos, it's like, I don't know, there's probably some people that like the way they look and they feel super comfortable posting videos. But you know, some people, it's a perfectionist. It needs to be edited right. You suggested cat something or other.
Cat cut.
What was that? Cat?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Cat cut. So people don't care. Honestly, people really don't care. John Lucas, this guy that I've worked with quite a bit. Here's his name actually. He's businessman. He was central. You know, he said, do the most mundane thing. You never know what's going to hit and what people like. One of the, you know, this woman with this awesome brand that came into this workshop. One of her most popular things was like her going to work and just like kind of sitting there, getting going. You know, it's like nobody would have ever thought that would connect with people. But it's the authenticity. It's the time. You know, here's the person. So reels. We talked a little bit about reels with you, Peggy, and I about it. Is that reels are incredibly popular. If people are on Facebook or on Instagram, they can get caught in reels just like they get caught into TikTok. The next thing you know, they're scrolling for an hour or so. You know, so that's a good place to get into with that. Let's see. 50% of the time on Instagram. But everything I say here about reels is really about getting videos out there because there's more interaction with videos. Let's see. This, you know, one of the things people said was, I want to use this and I want to convert it to sales and actually make money. I think this really speaks to this is 87% of marketers say video content, short form content has a direct impact on sales or conversion. Get people to stop, get people to click, and it will help you convert to that. The other thing is we know these giant companies, owned by these, very wealthy billionaires.
Yeah.
They have a way of making us do what they want in order to for us to get what we want. And one of them is find out what they want you to do and do it. Okay? This is a side note from social media, but people still Google stuff all the time, right? It's like best dry cleaner in Fairfield, and you get a list, right? Maybe there's some reviews, whatever, but that's what people post. And so if I was running a dry cleaner and I wanted to know if my social media was working and people, and I'd say, where'd you hear about me? Half people are more conceited. So it's powerful. But if you want to be at the top of Google, which is a simple workshop, I know, you need to go into your Google business profile and fill out absolutely everything that they want. They want you to describe all your businesses. You can't say best dry cleaner in Fairfield in your description, or they'll kick you off the platform. But you can say the best customer serving Fairfield, for 25 years. We love our customers. You're the best. We have the top customers, and for the past 5 years, like people do top 5 lists, whatever, you figure out a way to plug your stuff in, but figure out what the platforms want and give it to them. And believe me, they want video and they want you on videos. And if you do that, more people are going to see it.
It's
Yeah.
this came up in our last activity talks here. Since we're talking about videos, you did not have YouTube in there as a platform.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that?
No.
Okay.
I just didn't put it on there. I love YouTube. I think YouTube is incredible. If you're looking for authentic content, teach people how to do what you do, let them see behind the scenes, all that type of stuff. I was going here on my phone, which is now on my selfie stick. But I'll show you a couple things that I like in a few
I have the same question about next door. You
Yeah.
haven't mentioned that. You just decided not to include it.
Yeah, Nextdoor is super powerful if you're in a community that uses Nextdoor, but not all communities do. I live in one where they do, and therefore, people say, I need a mason to work on my chimney, right?
Right.
And believe me, if you're doing masonry work, you want to be on there and say, I'm Tim Bigman, I'm a mason. I've done this for 35 years. I'd be proud to come over and give you an estimate. Call me for blah, 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 or, whatever. Go where the people are. Something Peggy said, which I don't think is part of this presentation either, is think about subgroups and so if you have a neighborhood group, which is kind of like what Nextdoor is going for, get in there and interact in a neighborhood group. If you have like school sports or whatever, whatever group you're a part of, get in there and participate in there. So the example might not be if I'm selling dry cleaning services, I may not want to jump in my kids' lacrosse team page and say, hey, if anybody needs a dry cleaner, but maybe there's a picture of a kid with grass stains all over his uniform and say, I'd love to have that over to my dry cleaner, something funny, or there's ways to interact and interject what you want.
Oh, on this topic. So right now in the Fairfield residents group, it'd be a great one for Dave to be in interacting because there are residents who are visiting all of the Fairfield parks. And so when they're in there, Gabe could be commenting about the parks, like, oh yeah, isn't that a great park? Did you check out this trail? And then that shows him as the expert. And then when they see things from Metro Parks, that would also lift some of that engagement. It's being active in the groups in non-salesy ways, but that's a specific one that is happening right now in Fairfield. That would be.
And in a couple of slides, we'll talk about the mix of your posts, right? And even if you're not talking about this, which this is a superior idea, and getting in and commenting and being helpful, But one of the things we say is you're not just always out there selling. You're not saying, go to Legal Shield, 25% off for Labor Day. Go to you're not always pushing. One of the biggest things is education and being helpful and a good community partner. And so that makes, again, your friend who is posting 6 times a day, conceivably, if they're adding true value 6 times a day, somebody might not get sick of it. Still sounds like a lot. But there is a point at which, if what you're presenting is not just, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me, and it's valuable, then I'm okay with, whatever schedule you're on. Okay. So I think we've gotten this. Yeah, do videos, get them in there. And I think this is in there too. I think it talks about like carousel or stacking up. But if you do more than one picture, even if it's a still picture, or more than one video where people have to scroll through them, that by itself makes people pause more and engage more. If they just see that there's more, I don't know if it's like I wonder what the other pictures are, I don't know why. I'm sure somebody can give it to me on that from a psychological standpoint, but get multiple photos, multiple videos so people are scrolling, and you'll definitely, I don't think I have a percentage on here for something, but that definitely stops people and gets them to engage more. Just the mere fact that there's more behind it. All right. Let's see. Do it. Start to get comfortable. I don't know. You're not going to know who this lady is, but this lady who is has a great company. I think she's an incredibly attractive person. I don't see why she wouldn't want to be on video, but guess what? It's not my choice, right? Like a lot of us have hang-ups about different things. But she got over it. Okay, somebody I work with, she's like, I don't want to do video. I don't want to be in them. I want other people to be in. Guess what? People want to see you. If you're the owner, you're the talent, you're the person who's going to speak with the most passion and conviction, people want to see you. That adds to that authenticity. I don't. Oh yeah, this is down at the bottom. Short form video, go for it. Videos under 90 seconds. Okay, that's the other thing. I think that sounds kind of long, but this is the benchmark that is short form video. I'm a sucker for a good the guy who goes and cleans up like an old person's yard and it's just completely overgrown, and he said I'll do it for free and it's time lapse photography. I can watch that all day long. Also the rug cleaning videos. I don't know if anybody else likes rug. Oh, I question my intelligence and purpose in life when I sit there and watch area rug cleaning video, because when I like it, I'm decompressing people. So this is another one. If you're going to cross post, which I have that little job aid for, some of you may already know how to do it. You post to either Facebook or Instagram, it'll do both. Facebook generally is more of a landscape type, photo or video format, and Instagram is more portrait style. There's a way, if you go into your settings, you can do it square. So if you post to both, it'll look pretty good in both of them. I can also, doesn't really send that to people. You can also Google or ask AI this, and it'll tell you in a second, which I'm sure is what I did. But I actually have a little screenshot that shows you go in like where you're going to crop, and then it says like format ratio, and you click square. So if you're just consistently just going to post to one and cross share to the other, the square format will make it look good. But again, then you have to worry about, is it in what I want in the box? So it's not perfect. Okay, next thing, just from a logistical standpoint, get like one of those ring light things. Make it look good. They're not that expensive. A tripod, right? I love this tripod.
Some tripods come with ring light. Just so
Yeah, definitely. This is a selfie stick and a tripod. And here's the remote. I got the cheapest one I could find on Amazon.
I just got one
Generally,
yesterday.
huh?
I got one
Did you get
yesterday.
this one?
It was similar to that.
Similar. Okay, good.
Yeah.
It has a remote, but it uses like this some charger thing that nothing I have. Related. So I have a specific charger for this remote, so that's bad. Pay the extra $5 for the up-to-date version of it. But it's super lightweight, fits in my briefcase. I took a picture. I'm teaching this class at Miami, and the first day I wanted to pose at the Hamilton campus in front of this big red M in front of the campus, right? And there was a gal that was like, she's kind of busy. She was on the park bench next to it. I'm like, I'll interrupt her and have her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have my tripod. Yeah, I have this perfect picture. So first off, everybody gets in the photo. Secondly, you can set it up, and it's a beautiful picture. I'm happy with it. But anyway, not to oversell on this, I don't have an affiliate link.
Not yet, not yet.
But anyway, buy a couple things. Most people's phones are good enough in terms of quality, but go from there. A content calendar, okay? Definitely a few ways you can go with this. But if you set up the calendar, my wife had an embroidery shop for almost 10 years. And because I like to be funny and I like to be on camera, she'd always want me to do wacky video. And to be honest, I wanted to do wacky videos too, because I'm a bit of a ham. But sometimes I don't want to. I don't feel it. I don't want to do it. Well, if you get the content calendar going, it makes it a little bit, it makes it easier, get some consistency on it. So the first thing I said was make sure that you have the brand and, the look and you're doing it the way you want it to, and then create, a calendar from that standpoint. Some of the tools will help you create the calendar, and I'm going to do a little AI thing here in a second, but here's the content mix. So this is what I was talking about before with not just overselling and making a bunch of boring posts. I would say the promotion and the actual sales that I have folded at the top parenthesis. That's what everybody does and wants to do, and you're probably doing that. You're saying what it is. Here's what we do. Come by us. We're awesome, right? But that should really probably only be a third or a little bit more than a third of the posts that you put out. The other things are education and tips. Let me show you a couple of social media that I love. It worked, right?
It worked last time, but I don't know what you did.
Oh shoot! What am I saying? I'm sorry. This is a new laptop.
There you go.
Okay, get around here. Okay, I have a lot of house people. No judging.
Too late.
Bet you don't have more than my wife.
Okay, this guy that I'm about to show you, Robert W. Love. Okay, this is a super long and somewhat entertaining story, but my wife met this guy's mom at a medical procedure. Okay, and so we had so she said, hey, you want to come with me to meet this guy? And I'm like, I don't think so. And then she told me, like right before we went, he has like 2.5 million followers on Instagram and like over $3 million on TikTok. So I'll show you what he does.
Okay. Aging. If you are new to my channel, hi. My name is Robert Love. I'm a neuroscientist and I specialize in helping people that's Alzheimer's disease with science. Story number one, this is found in a lot of processed foods. It is high fructose corn syrup, and I want to include agave syrup as well as a similar thing. High fructose corn syrup is a ton of calories and usually not very much fiber.
Okay.
3 lessons from Burning Man. So I just spent about 2 weeks at Burning Man helping set up and help clean up. and it's a really difficult one. Here are 3 lessons I learned that are going to help me during this calendar year. Number 1 is resilience. So you may have seen some of the giant windstorms and the dust storms and the rain. I met an 82-year-old woman at Burning Man. She is sharp as a tack and she looks absolutely gorgeous. Here are 3 things she is doing to keep her brain healthy and keep herself looking fabulous. If you're new to my channel, hi. My name is Robert Love. I'm a neuroscientist and I have a medical clinic in Florida where we are reversing Alzheimer's in our patients. Number 1, this is really important. She surrounds herself with people she loves. There's a great Harvard.
Okay, I don't want to go too far into it. This is what this guy does. Top 3, top 5. He sings the praises about other people. The very first thing he does, well, almost the first thing he does is he just says, "This is Robert Love. I'm a neuroscientist. I help, people with Alzheimer's." Like that's the way he starts. Now, this is an incredibly simplistic way of posting, but it is incredibly effective. People love lists, So legals, you're like, you look in your shirt and get it. So it would be like, here's the top 3 things that people should do once they have a baby, right? Or here's, you're coming up on Thanksgiving, you're going to have your whole family together. Here's 5 things that you want to talk to your kids about your estate and what happens after you're gone, right? You're just doing this and you're just going over and over. And this does require a little bit of editing. And but I can't recommend this enough in terms of people just saying, you're just educating people on it. What this guy actually does is, I guess he has this clinic in Florida. He spent 2.5 hours with my wife and I, talking about our diet and the fitness and stuff. But he also sells supplements, So, you click on him, you get into it, you start to trust him. He's not pushing products. Sometimes he'll say the top 5 supplements that people should take, and like 2 of them are his type of thing. Anyway, okay. So we've got that one. I'm going to show you one more. This is a new client of mine. He makes putters. Okay. And so he's actually milling golf putters in his basement. So these are custom, Anyway, previously, I don't know if we can go back to like an old type of stuff. Okay, but this is good. I like this. Static stuff. Now he's doing more videos. But you get it. Those are some of the, important things that, the people can do. All right. Let's see. So content mix, right? Think about this for your business. How can you educate people? So again, 6 a day sounds excessive, but 5 a week, and they're about me, right? The next is humanizing behind the scenes, which we're going to get to right now. And then social proof, testimonials, reviews. Everybody knows you think you're awesome, but what do other people think? It's kind of the big piece of from there. Okay, so think about your content, education, humanizing. The humanizing, like I said, people don't care. They'll watch anything. They'll watch you show up to work, get a coffee, complain about your calendar, show milling of a putter, all kinds of different stuff. Okay. This is what I was talking about 3 to 5 posts per week on Instagram is this suggestion. This says 1 to 3 times a week on Facebook. I think that sounds a little light. TikTok again, so this is less than what people think. So if you're kind of struggling to say, I know I need to be going more, I'm not offended by more. I just won't watch it. But, again, this is kind of a rule of thumb. Again, content pillars, education, behind the scenes, testimonial, and then the video. Okay. Hashtags. How many people are using hashtags? Do you want to tell us like what you use? What do you have guidelines for hashtags that you talk about?
I usually just use like hashtag Fairfield, Ohio. I'll use hashtag Butler County, Ohio. But one of the things that I did when I was finding the hashtags that I'm using is when I looked them up, I made sure they weren't like the ones that are like dragging, right? So I'm not just gonna put oh, because there's millions, right? Butler County, Ohio, even kind of has a lot, but checking how many are utilized. So you have like in that hundreds of thousands, but maybe not the multiple millions. Because then when someone searches the hashtag, you're more likely to come up in that top 9, top 12 when you're on Instagram or whatever. So that's how I found mine. But so Fairfield, Ohio, Fairfield Township, Ohio, Butler County, Ohio are like my top 3.
Where did you find that information?
Oh, when you're on Instagram, you just start typing them in and it'll show you how many.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was for my wife's business, okay? Embroidery. She had several different things that she would do. She'd do kids' items, weddings, home decor, general type stuff. So what we did was we went in and saw like how many is Cincinnati. The shop was in Marymount, Indian Hill, like these different places. But also there's Cincinnati Mom and Cincinnati Moms and Cincy Moms and Cincy Moms. I don't know what I'm saying. Ohio Mom. But there's a ton more that aren't included that you're either dead or they only have a few followers. So go in, see how many followers they have. And then what we would do is just copy and paste from here right to the bottom of an Instagram post for the different type. So I recommend again trying to figure out what are some ones that you think will fit your target demographic. What do you go for?
If you have an iPhone and you're posting from your iPhone, I can show you the keyboard hack where you don't even have to type it. There is a keyboard hack where you can edit your autocorrect to put in whatever you want it to be. So when I was running, for those of you who don't know, I ran a business before I started work. But when I was running my business, I had literally, I would write tag and then screen, and I would put it together. And then it would put all of my screen printing tags that I wanted to use. And all I had to type in was tag screen, and then it auto-filled it for me. So I was cutting out, it's only seconds that it's taking me, but literally sitting there trying to type all the things, or even the cutting and pasting when you're running around after toddlers, any second helps, right? So,
Are you ready to do a demo?
sure. What am I demoing?
This was you're posting, I think it was like one of your videos where you went through the drive-throughs. Is that the
Oh,
one?
drive-through. I can. But you don't. Can we mirror my phone?
Yeah.
Do you know how to do it? So who remembers our drive-through videos? Did you guys see them? Oh, perfect.
705.
Look at that. I learned something new today.
I should just say it if anybody else. I just with my iPhone, I just swipe from the top corner, hit mirroring, and it'll post up if you need it. It's fun.
So if you are on TikTok, if you're not following us. All right, so let me see if I can find them here quick. As you guys can see, we will host events, coming food events. So this Flying Ace was for their ribbon cutting. But this is the one here. So it was National Drive-Thru Day. Thank you for the calendar, Tommy, because we totally knew that because of the fun days on Tommy's calendar. So I literally went through, I have no volume on my phone right now, but I had it turned up. So I went through the drive-through that are our members. And so Lane Public Library has a drive-through. So even though it's not your typical drive-through, still I drove through. And you'll see, I had them wave and all that stuff. So mine is longer than Peggy. But Peggy's was I think that. So I think that one part two. I did the same like intro. And literally we decided that so she's driving through Strickland Brothers. She did not get her oil change, but still, it's a drive-through, right?
Yeah.
So we just went to our different drive-throughs and got different people waiting and whatnot. One of the fun things for us that I did after the fact, like, hey man, sorry for our members that recently had not renewed or were like pending, that kind of thing. I was like, hey, I missed including you today. It was National Drive today. Hope you had a great day. So it's kind of spur of the moment type stuff. However, there's one that I saw I would love to show you guys that had like so many views recently. And it was because here it is. So if you can see it, we don't have tons of followers on TikTok. Like we don't even have 200 followers. But this one, look what we got to do. We threw boxes at Peggy. So obviously I do events and stuff. Like I'll recap our event. But we also will pull into the trend. So that was the trend at the time. People were throwing boxes at people and saying, hey, you were expecting that to hit me. Well, I'm waiting for you to XYZ. So we will be ones that will and everything has music attached to it as well. But we'll go on to the trends. I will find trending music and do it. If it makes my teenager cringe, then I know I'm posting the right thing. It's kind of my like bar, right?
Does it like suggest music for you? Like I've never done the music part.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So wait, let me get back to this one. We did it recently. So this was the trend where you take a picture and let TikTok pick the sound. Look what happened, Todd. So this is the picture that, so yeah, it will take the music for you. When I put like a variety together, it will also like, you know, do the transitions.
So this is TikTok.
The TikTok, yeah.
Do you have one for Instagram?
Yes.
And then what I was hoping was, are you able to go into like the meta business?
It's chatter time.
Yes. So here is our Instagram. As you can see, we don't have a lot of followers on Instagram at all. This is by far our least used. So as you can see, it's very low in the views and whatnot. But
Or even Facebook, I don't know.
yeah,
Whatever you think is gonna show.
I don't know if I can get to the meta suite from these professional dashboard.
Right, so again, one of the things we were talking about is, you know, how do you know if it's gonna be effective? And just because you get likes, that feels good, but it doesn't just mean that it's not successful if you're getting likes.
We have found when we were looking at this, that so I sent out a membership report to our board and I was looking at some of our content and we have found specifically just for us that our videos don't have the number of likes and engagement that are static pictures. So the one
Everything I said before, forget that. No, but in all seriousness, it depends on your business. That's the reason why you're gonna look at the numbers, right? I think scientifically use videos, but yeah, continue.
100%. If you're not talking to business, it might not be. So we have found though, for us specifically, we get more engagement on things that are faces or photograph. And I think that's just more because I always post more than 4. So you get that plus, but then people stop and they click. And it is the, do I know any of these people? Or am I going to see myself? Hey, did she get a bad picture of me? Look, won't call out anyone in the room who looks for those. But for us, I think it's more so because people are looking at it at work and stuff like that, where video is not necessarily, but I am not stopping video. I'm not because I love it and it's fun. So, but
Yeah. Well, what about on the analytics?
Yeah.
You can share on that, like things that you look at when you're
so yes, I don't
the
know.
insights.
My favorite insights are actually on LinkedIn. Let's see if I can pull them up here. No. Here we go. Okay, so I can't pull them up from my phone. But when you're in LinkedIn, what's under here? Here it is. What I like about LinkedIn on the content one is it will tell you your engagement rate. And this is your views plus your clicks. So yes, this one is low, but we have some where this engagement rate is 67, 68%. And those tend to be those of an event where I've shared a bunch of pictures and a bunch of people's faces. And I can't tell you if it's from tagging or not because it depends on the post. Sometimes I tag all the people in it, other times I don't, and those engagement rates are there. So I like we're going back. I do like theirs the best because it does when you're on the website itself, it will break this down for you. It'll show you the number of views, it'll show you the number of clicks, and it'll show you what then that engagement rate is. And that's where I've learned
I have a question. Is that with the paid version?
Nope. We do not pay nope.
Is it on the LinkedIn?
No, we do not pay for the only one that we have a paid for is ChatGPT.
Is there any advantage to paying for LinkedIn? Is it paying extra to be on LinkedIn?
That is not a new question.
What's the question again?
Is there any advantage to paying for LinkedIn? They got like the free version and they got one you can get to see
Premium.
Yeah, like there's a gold version and
Yeah.
a premium version. The gold version you can see the people who clicked on you. Right. That's kind of, like this, I don't know what this says, like you got like 18 clicks in the past week. Without it, it might tell you generally industries or companies.
Who searched you?
Like overall in the last 30 days. So you can then go into and see specific.
Anybody pay for gold LinkedIn in here? Yeah. And why do you do it and what do you get for it?
I don't know if I can remember. We've had it a long time, but I know, like you said, you get to see who's, clicking on you and all that.
Yeah.
That's interesting to know.
Yeah.
Because if you're putting content out there, for me, I do deal a lot with Legal Shield as an employee benefit, right? So I'm reaching out to decision makers on LinkedIn. So if they're checking me out and I didn't reach out to them, that's kind of like, oh, this might be a lead for me,
Right.
So it just gives you more functionality and more information, I guess, to put it simply.
You got it.
So, and there's one of them that's a specific thing. The impressions were 307. We got 307 times on LinkedIn it went out. And then the click rate is it's over half. And this was from not last Thursday, but the Thursday before, the networking at lunch is what that one was from. So, and simply my comment was, if you weren't here, you weren't fed. Thanks, Casanos, for feeding them. And that was it.
All right, any questions on this? I'm going to show you something else on my laptop of the Meta Business Suite, but let me stop here.
Yep.
Clear here.
Yep.
Look, it's the ones you finish.
Right. And then, yeah, stop. It might just need power to get in on account.
Okay, so this is I guess I could go back here, but this is the Meta Business Suite. Okay, so this will help you check out. Again, no cost for this. You can go into it. This is I wish I had a more active page here to show you a little bit, but you see there's some views and interactions. You can see how individual posts are working. So this is overall for my page. Let's see, there might add some right here. Shows. Let's see if I post.
They always show that like things are down even though they're up. Like
Well, then you'll pay the boost.
maybe that's it. Maybe that's the and the person who's trying to like track the analytics. That's a challenge for me.
Have you seen it when you have a successful one that you'll get some grain and
I have
I'm
seen
sure
green before. Yes.
okay. Well, technically, what you want to do is just be going in here, checking out your, as Sarah was showing you, you can look at individual posts. You can look at overall how the how your sites are doing.
Is there a percentage that you're trying to look for, like where it says like down 72, down 75? Like, don't you want to kind of keep it at 0 or?
Well, I would say
down
hopefully you're
0.1 or
increasing
up,
and
but-
you're going up, but inevitably it's going to be going up and
So,
down
like-
based on the success of it. So this is part of where you're going to look at it and say that was a successful post. Let's do more of that. However, back to the original thing is you want to be within the, like if you did something super wacky, like you're throwing boxes at somebody's head, okay, I got a lot of action on that one. Is this something I'm going to sustain or, how would
Like what's an anomaly versus
Yeah.
what number am I looking for just to be steady?
Yeah, and I think what you have to do is you just need to look at it over time. And I think this is something else for the parking lot in terms of, just maybe coming up with some matrix, like a baseline and trying to figure out where you should go from.
I will say this, you do want it to be authentic to your brand. So we, as you guys know, are a silly group of people. We like to have fun. We like you to have fun. And so we're going to do things that are going to embrace these silly trends, right? Where Crane's Class necessarily isn't as like connecting in that silly way. It's more in the this is what you need for your home and that kind of thing. Where those embracing those trends might not work as well for you. For example, not to say you're not all you want, but that is it.
Okay, so we are getting a little bit close on time. Let me just look at my yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about this, and then I'm going to show you a couple of AI ways to look at it. Okay, so obviously you can pay to boost, you can pay for advertising, or you can do it organic. Organic is more sustainable. this is talking about influencers and collaboration. Does anybody use an influencer, pay an influencer? Yeah. Cool. How do you do it? And what is?
We did it for 2 months over the summer. She's like a Cincinnati-based traveler. I think her name was Maria the Wild. So she goes around all over the world traveling. So we asked her to come up to the park for a day, do a content day with us, and then give us like 8 posts. And I think we paid her for like 8 posts total. She did some videos. She's like, "Well, come check out Steve Old Park or whatever." And so yeah.
Would you pay her? Do you mind telling us?
So I think that it was around 5 grand for the 8th post, if I remember correctly. And we looked at it and we decided that at the end of the day, like our ROI, we got a lot of followers out of it. And we boost post a lot because we have like a lot of events that we need people to sign up for, or like if we're selling merch. So we found out that she was a much better ROI for getting new followers, new people in, but not necessarily for like post engagement or like driving people to, go through everything on everything on the top.
Yeah. Well, influencer marketing is huge and it just keeps growing. Okay. So people trust like micro influencers, people trust a lot. So like if they follow Maria in the Wild, and they see what she's doing, they tend to follow what they do. 60% more engagement. And let's see, sometimes you can offer trades, flat rates. This is the tracking sites to see how it works. I did an AI looking for influencers in Cincinnati, and again, you can find people that have everywhere from 1,000 up to 100,000 or more followers, and you can connect with those people. There's a lot of different. I will also send this out to you too. Feel free to take the picture. I wasn't saying that, but I know a lot of people are kind of interested in it. You can also just find people or customers you have. Like my wife at her business, she knew the ladies generally that had the most influence in their demographic, and would get them to post. And sometimes it was either for free merchandise or almost nothing, or
I have a little anecdote on this
Yeah.
as well. So I was at the Wawa ribbon cutting. We were invited, so we go, right? And so I take a picture with our leadership Fairfield class from last year. There were 4 of us there. And so we just snapped a picture, posted it to Instagram or Facebook. Nothing really other than that, right? And then a friend of mine was like, "Wait, is that the Jungle Gyms guy?" So Mark Morrison was in the picture. He was in our class last year. So even it is a lot, sometimes even just the who you know. So it wasn't necessarily an influencer in the way of we think of influencers, but just the fact that he was in the picture that spiked some engagement on that particular post because of his.
But I'll just show you this. Again, I just did an AI search. I said I'm looking for micro influencers in Cincinnati, and I got a bunch of different links. These came up, and that's how you can search and find what's there.
There was level of influence.
Let's see. Micro influencers. So here are some tools. Meta Business Suite again is free. There's a bunch of others which I'm going to talk about. Zip through a slide on that. Again, I'm going to send you these slides. How many people use Canva to help design things? Amazing tool. It's a whole separate, workshop training session. Or again, you go to AI, you say, I want to start using, YouTube. I want to find me some videos to help me start using Canva for blah, 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 and find YouTube videos. Tell it what you want. Let's see. Okay, So here are some of these other, somebody said, I want to know what other tools there are out there to track, plan, automate the success of my social media. And again, John Lucas, a friend of mine who helps me out with some things, is a huge proponent of Sprout. Sprout is what he uses, but it is somewhat expensive. He uses it for his clients, but you know, I was going to show you my. I will send this to you too. Is, here was a comparison of different, um, tools for social media. I just listed all the ones I was interested in, plus ones I didn't list. And I asked it for, price, target market. I said best fit, target group, typical starting price, ease of use, key advantages, main drawbacks, and put it in a grid form. And it gave this to me. So, bring back in a second here. So, okay, let's see. This is what I was talking about. Again, in the business, they call it like vanity metrics, likes and followers versus actionable save shares, clicks, conversions. This is an example of a post. You see that it only got 3 likes, doesn't sound great, but if you look over here, you see that it had 644 impressions. 52% of them clicked on the website link, versus a normal click rate of 6%. So if you don't get too hung up in nobody's commenting or nobody's liking it, you really do have to get into the metrics and see what people are actually doing. Okay, so I know this is kind of a toe in the water, and this could be a big piece that you're interested in. But talk to Sarah, talk to me, and if you want to, we can put on another workshop where we literally just dive into analytics and talk about that. But what I want you to do is, if you're putting effort into it, spend the time to track it and see what's working. Okay. Let's see, awareness, reach, and impressions, engagements, comments, and saves, sales, which obviously is what we want. We're getting website clicks. These are the ones we talked about. This is my prompt that I used in here. You're a social media consultant that helps small businesses grow. I'm looking for a social media tool that helps me track results and help me make money through social media. I'm considering. I listed some, create a grid. So again, this is the basics of it are in that participant guide, as to how you can get to these, pieces, and in about, 15 seconds, it gave me a grid chock full of all the advantages, disadvantages, pricing. I should ask for promotions or if there's a free period now that I'm thinking about it. But the first search is also just not going to get you probably what you want. You're going to have to refine as you go. Right, there's the analytic dashboard. Okay, so I definitely want time for this, which we only have about 5 minutes left. So what I want you to do is on this sheet, on the back, it says, think about everything that we talked about this morning. What are you going to do today? What are you going to commit to move your business forward with social media? Okay, write something down. You get back to your desk. I'm sure, if you're like me, 3 people say, hey, Tim, hey, Tim, hey, Tim. But try and figure out a time today. And then in the next 30 days, what are some things that you're going to commit to help make your social media even better? I'll give you a few minutes there. Super fun. I forgot that being ready. Not playing? But what's it? You know the name? So they didn't been what? Charges.
Oh, so this is nice. Yes,
All right. So turn to your partner, and if your partner is not here, the person sitting next to you that you've been talking to, and just share something that you're going to do as a result of attending. Okay, so just take a minute and share.
Great. Okay. Got no.
So I just hear stuff here. Does somebody mind sharing with the big group something that they're going to do either today or in the next 30 days, either what you or the person you were sitting next to said?
I'm gonna create an education strategy geared towards the younger audience about how, because I'm assuming that most younger people don't know really much about billing credit and lending and financial planning and doing some little small things like perhaps that list, about 3 things you need to do to establish credit, about 3 things you need to do.
Absolutely.
Just start financial planning, something
I
like
love
that.
Something else.
I'm gonna put together this small little videos with my husband about behind the scenes, how I do and
Yeah.
how I make this work and why this is good and.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like how the sausage is made type of thing, and we think it's going to be ugly. Some people find it compelling. They're like, what are you going to do? How does this actually work? I know, I know your business, but some people wouldn't even be like, I'm not sure I'm comfortable or how it's.
Exactly.
And the more they get to know you, they're going to entrust you, especially with something in person.
Yeah.
One more, somebody had that hand up?
I do.
Yeah.
You're gonna become influencer.
Follow me. Follow me.
Yeah. Yeah, it is becoming a huge business. This marketing happy hour podcast I'm listening to. I mean, there are they're like talent agents, and they, there are people who manage that. I have a friend of a friend who manages talent for TikTok, and they try and get them jobs and try and hype them up and get them. So there's a lot of new age type jobs out there. But I say this to people who are like, I'm not sure I need social media for my business. Most people think they need it, right? But if you have a business that's doing well and it's word of mouth and reputation, all that. The thing I always say is you never know if you can grow and you can get bigger and more eyes on you. There may be something you can do with it later that you don't even know about. And I think the influencer thing is exactly part of it too, is, if somebody, you could get sponsors if you are somebody who's talking about how to build credit and it takes off and you're known in that circle, then, there could be, Rocket Money might want to put an ad on it and you start making money off of it. So, certainly not outside the realm of possibilities in terms of, where people are interested.
I got an example real quick. The
Yeah.
guy that does the food reviews, things, mullet review, goes around.
Blonde,
Was it?
hot blonde.
How about him? And is he an influencer? I mean, he goes to
Yeah.
restaurants, he tries to get them customers, and
Oh, he's
Yeah.
got business. He's on a billboard now for some attorney in Hamilton and some other companies. Like he's in an ad with Casanos that came.
Definitely.
That
Yeah.
attorney is one of our members.
Right.
but does
Yeah.
he make money? Does he profit off of that?
Well, yeah, he got paid to be on the billboard.
Okay.
He probably got paid by.
And you can hire him to come to your restaurant, or you can, he is definitely an influencer. Great point.
I just
He's
wanted to
Michael.
say, I am gonna see him tomorrow. I'm gonna meet him.
Nice.
My husband,
Well,
yeah, I'm gonna hang out with him tomorrow. So, he's gonna be walking. My husband does a big walk for the Miracle League fields, and they're walking from the fields to the Reds Stadium with all the rain and stuff.
Wow.
So we'll see how it goes. But he's supposed to walk with them. So
Oh, no.
hoping that he will boost the Miracle League fields. Happening. That's the goal.
That'd be
And I think this is it, is that, some of us are certainly older and had different experiences than others, but, this is where the eyes are. And right now, people are looking at it, they're scrolling more so than in other places. So think about how people view you, look for your target audience, track the numbers, try and grow authentically, but maybe push yourselves in some different ways. Yeah.
Can I just, so I'm a big person that believes in community and working together and karma and all of that. Could we maybe have a list of everyone that's here, and I will, through my business, through the business that I work for, follow everybody. We're all part of the same, we're here to support each other, we're all part, I would happily do that if that was available.
That's a great idea.
Attendee list, I'm sure you have that, right?
I can get that. I can get you guys that.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Well, and especially since you're networking it too.
And because I have some links and some other stuff in here, I'll definitely send you the content. I'll also just send you links. The nice thing about, again, I'm using ChatGPT is you can just copy a link, put it in an email, and put it in social media, whatever you want to, as people can get to it. This is, I don't want you to see my search of everything on YouTube. But again, I'm signed in, but I'm not actually paying for the premium service right now, but it keeps everything paid. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Good luck on this. Please reach out, and here's Sarah down here with her email address. I didn't include your phone number, but I included mine. If you do want to get together and talk about this or anything else about numbers, growth, getting a loan, anything like that, I have business cards here too. So thanks everybody for coming. Look at that. A round of applause.
I'd be remiss if I don't tell you about the next one. So come see Christina again. You are the next one. October 16th is the next one. It is cybersecurity. So come here. All of the information is on our website. It's fairfieldchamber.com. And then it's in the events tab. But October 16th is our next one for workshop like this. We also have Safety Council, which is the second Tuesday. The topic is not in my brain. I apologize. But then Thursday we have networking at the Fairfield Township Administration Building, and that is from 4:30 to 6.
At the next one, we are buying lunch, so.
Woo! Come get that. Thanks for coming, everybody.
All right, and if you don't have to immediately escape, feel free to stay. As I said, I have cards here if you're interested in that meeting.
Right, you're asking. All I can do is.
Definitely. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Well, it's actually one of two things. Company. appreciate you 13 cents. And about the 50 years. Please, you have only to plan. Okay. Back in past. Taxes for benefit was when they don't introduce like. Council say that. You say cause that has been asked up. Documents that will appropriate, you don't have to like sell it now. IP show that just like. You can stop. You have to get out. Okay, we get you guys time. I you sometimes forget to get. Good luck with your influence. That's why I have. I thought I knocked that over. That's why I have that case on here now. Awesome. Jackson, I'll feel cool. I'll give you more. Like exponentially. In my.
So we have time.